Congressman Adam Smith. He is the Democratic ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. The question of this retaliation by Iran, it was not a question of if, but when. And now we are looking at the possibility of not just or the question of what happens in Israel, but then what happens in terms of an Israeli response. So how worried are you right now that there will be a significant escalation?
I think I'm very worried, and I think anyone paying attention to this should be very worried. I mean, it's gone back and forth on a number of different levels. Obviously, Israel has been long concerned about Iran sending supplies through Syria to Lebanon to arm Hezbollah. Missiles have been flying back and forth between Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel for months now. Obviously, there's the fight in Gaza with Hamas as well, and this is escalating. And I think both sides are assuming if they appear as strong as possible, it will force the other side to back down. But there's really no end to that if both sides have that approach. So after this attack by Iran, it's going to be a very dangerous moment to see what comes next.
The consensus by experts and officials until now for the past 6 months was that Iran didn't really want to get involved in this war directly. They were more than happy to see their proxies going after U.S. targets, coalition targets, and, of course, Israeli targets. Do you think that that is changing now, that Iran will want a bit more of a direct role in this conflict? Or do you think that this retaliation, at least in Iran's hope, is a one-off?
Most likely it's a one-off, but you don't know. I mean, you can't know for sure. I mean, based on the way Iran responded to the killing of Soleimani, when we killed Soleimani several years ago now, it strikes me as a one-off, as, you do this us, we have to have a proportional response to discourage you from doing this in the future. But that's not 100% certain that that's Iran's approach. Now, I heard an analyst earlier say, and quite correctly, that if Iran really wanted to go all in on Israel, they would unleash Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's the greatest threat, because that's right across the border. Israel would not have the hours that they have now to see these drones and then potentially missiles if they coming at them. Iran, to date, hasn't done that. So I think Iran is planning on this being a one-off. But if missiles get through and hit Israel, what does Israel do? Do they strike back directly at Iran? The risk of escalation is high for all of those reasons, even if at the moment, I agree. I don't think Iran wants that full-scale war, but they may well stumble into it.
No doubt, Hezbollah is certainly among, if not the biggest concern right now, aside from what is incoming from Iran. Congressman, what do you think the messaging is from the Biden administration to Israel in terms of a response? Is it to some extent, you knew this was coming, if it's not too bad, you just take it on the chin, or will the U.S. be okay with Israel, say, carrying out a response against Iran proper?
Well, I think the message to Israel is not, take it on the chin, you'll be okay. It's what is in your long-term best interests here. I mean, Israel is sitting in the middle of a very dangerous neighborhood with Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas, among others, threatening them. Do they want to go all in on a conflict? I would say no, and I think the Biden administration will be advising them no, that they are in a vulnerable position and they should look to de-escalate across the board where possible. They still are very strong and able to defend themselves. They don't need to risk an all-out war to prove that point. And I also think it underscores the need to get to a ceasefire in Gaza, to get humanitarian assistance in to Gaza and to have an endpoint to that conflict. Completely admitting Israel's right to defend itself there without question. But things need to calm down, or Israel is vulnerable in the region.
All right, Congressman Adam Smith, ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, thank you so much for your time and thoughts this evening. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the chance.